Hello, and welcome to another video podcast.
Don't do that.
This is gross.
If you feel like a grape and you only have raisins,
Don't do that.
you have two nostrils.
This
Okay.
wins
All
the
right.
most disgusting episode so far.
It's something that I still do, and I still do it and love it.
Don't do that.
Look, awards are great. Some are obviously more prestigious than others.
This month, coming up right here on this podcast.
Speaking of things that you may not want to know,
Come sit in somebody's lap.
Don't do that.
People know I hire talent sometimes, so I get 500 business cards at the conference too. Guess what? They stay in the room when I leave.
They wanted a British accent,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
and I don't have any samples with a British accent. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another VO podcast.
Hey, we're back. Welcome to another VO podcast. We are so thankful for all of our listeners, and you keep coming back. This is episode 59, and I'm here with that's Jake Sanders' voice. No, that's Jake's voice. Jake Sanders. I messed it up so bad.
It's all
You practiced so long for this.
You want to start
The
over? I can
voice
edit that out.
goats.
Nah, let's keep it real. We all mess up. We all mess up.
Troy, blue collar voice of choice. And I'm salt of the earth voiceover. Man, I feel like I brushed my teeth this morning and I can't do anything with them.
Did you say Charles
No,
the
just
voice?
left me out like
Yeah.
I said Charles the voice Coates. No, I said Charles. You guys were talking when I was saying it.
I never talk.
Jabber, jabber, jabber,
If y'all
jabber.
didn't introduce me, they wouldn't know I was on the podcast.
Yeah. I'm not
you know
running
what-
through it again. I
Do you
can't
know
do
what
it
my
again.
slogan
I'll
is,
fall.
Alden?
No. What's your slogan?
Leave the
Charles
talking
Booker?
to me.
Leave the talking to me. That's
Leave
right.
the talking to me.
Yeah.
I still love what yours was going to be,
Thanks for the
Jake.
love,
I
I
still think
appreciate
you should do it.
Friendly
The
neighborhood
friend-
voice actor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't know. Yeah,
You're
we'll
the-
see.
You're the Spider-Man style.
For those
You got
listening,
that-
that's
you
me
got that
shooting webs
vibe,
out of my
man.
wrist.
Peter Pucker.
Yeah, you got
Beat
that
the
vibe.
Alpaca. Yeah.
Joking
what's
with
up?
the villains. So, guys, here's what I want to touch on something today. This is one of those podcasts where it's what to do when. You know, we get a lot of that in the Facebook group. Hey, have you guys ever run across this? What do you do when this happens? What do you do here? And we had an occasion with you, Jake, with a client who came back to you wanting extra usage that they did not pay for, did not agree to. And but before I give anything away, I want you to tell that story of what that was from your perspective, most of all, but also so I don't miss out on any of the details.
Yeah,
So
sure.
tell
no.
us what went down.
Yeah, of course. So last year, I've made multiple connections across the years or whatever. And actually, so the guy that actually recorded my first ever voiceover demo, just to give me something to get my foot in the door, not a very great quality. We recorded it in his living room. He ended up moving to Colorado at some point, and he's working for a production company or production house. He ended up hitting me up last year to do some one spot for a local jewelry store in Indianapolis, and I went back and forth on rates with them, and ultimately and the usage I think for it was going to be pre-roll, social media, and traditional TV, and that was it. Excuse me, that was it. And initially I told them, this is my price for 1 year. And then they were like, look, it's a local thing. And, they are a jewelry store, they're local, small business, and they want to do it in perpetuity. And I'm thinking like, okay, like maybe if I can agree to this, then, I say maybe I'll agree to this because it is small. It's not going to ever be national kind of thing. I was like, I'll do this one for in perpetuity, but going forward, we'll need to discuss usage and length and whatnot. And he was like, all right, cool, good deal. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, cool. I made this deal, and then maybe there'll be some work down the line. Well, I hadn't heard from him all year last year into this year. And I get a message on my website the other day from someone completely different asking about this thing. So at first I'm thinking this is they're maybe a different production house had taken over the job. And they hit me up and they're like, hey, look, we want to take your original thing and put it on CTV, which is connected TV, I believe. But we want to add and test 2 CTAs, which I've come to know now are call to actions. And that's just, and I think one of them was like, come to this store now, come check out the store today or go to the website today or something like that. It was just something like 2 little sentences or whatever they wanted to add, and they were going to put it on CTV. So they said, what would your usage for that be? And actually I called Charles and I was like, Charles, Okay, I want to just go over this with you real quick because I want to make sure I'm quoting correctly. So since it was 2 spots they were going to test and they were moving it to a different platform that I hadn't previously agreed to, I gave them my new rate. And it was basically double the old rate because it was 2 different spots, or whatever. And again, would have been it's a completely fair, based on the GVA standards, it's a completely fair rate, completely fair, and honestly probably too fair. I mean, probably not.
I think it was below what the max rate was.
Max rate for considering what they were wanting. So anyway, I came back and gave them that, and then they went silent on me. And then, like, not an hour or 2 later, Troy hits me up and in the group and was like, "Hey, man, I just heard your voice used as a reference for a job on voices.com." And I was like, and I at first I'm like, "Huh?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's 2 CTAs for CTV." And I'm like, and I told him the name of the company, which I'm not going to do here, but I was like, "Is it this one?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I was like, yeah, no.
What the heck?
I just talked to that lady. So I immediately emailed that lady and I said, just FYI, I heard that, it's been told to me that you're posting this job on voices.com. I do want to remind you that my original agreement does not cover CTV. So whether you use my voice for the CTAs or not, you will owe me additional money, whether you use it. Again, whether you use my voice or not, if you're going to put it on CTV. And I did throw in there, too, and I said, I have the email confirmation with the original production house, and per my lawyer, this will stand in court should we have to settle it there. And I didn't, in my mind, I'm sitting here, like, I'm already, like, jumping to conclusions, but at the same time, it's like, you hear about this stuff happening, and I'm like, look, if I got to throw this around right now, and it's not like I was like, I didn't cuss her out, I wasn't, like, angry, I was just like, FYI, this is what you're about to get into, this is what it's going to be.
You're professionally clear.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, exactly. And I ended up calling the original guy, my connection, and I said, "Did someone else take that from you?" He goes, "No." And then he waited. He goes, "Oh, you know what? We're having this person that's doing this digital campaign or whatever, and I think that's who it is." And sure enough, that's who it was. And he goes, "All right, let me talk to her." He said, "Ultimately, what'll probably happen is that they'll probably just have to redo the voiceover." And I said, "You know what? That's fine. I get that. If they want to use my voice, yeah, you're gonna have to pay me. If they don't want to use it and they're just gonna have to redo it, that's fine too." Because that price on VDC was the 250 to 499 range.
Yep.
And they wanted, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I got way more than that for that spot last year, and I quoted a lot more than that for this stuff where they were wanting this year. So ultimately, I was told and guaranteed they wouldn't be reusing my original spot. Mm-hmm. And I am following that company on the socials, so if it starts popping back up again, I'm gonna be like, so what's the deal?
Which is fine, we're not saying here that your client has to be loyal to you, to your voice forever.
100% not.
That's not the case here. What the problem is, they wanted to get extra usage, or it seemed they wanted to get extra usage for nothing.
And then we're probably going to continue to use it if they could get a voice match for the tags.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What I ended up being told, they were like, "Hey, we're not going to use your original, and it looks like they're going to outsource this to an AI company." And I was like, okay, so let's see how it stands. I mean, like, you know what? If there's companies out there that don't care, and we've talked about this before, if you're using AI for promotion and stuff like that, it's one of 2 things. You're either cheap or you can't afford it. Or you don't
want
care.
to sound cheap and sound like you can't afford it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Or you just don't care. Or you just don't care. You're like, I don't care if it's just like, okay. And you know what's crazy? I'm hearing AI voices like on the ads that are happening on my podcast, like I'm listening to podcasts that are sponsored by like iHeart. And like I'm hearing like this deep voice that comes on, and like I've heard it so many times, but I was really listening to it the other day while playing disc golf, and I was like, this is an AI voice, because they were saying things that didn't in a way that like the tone didn't make sense.
Right.
Like the tone or like the inflections didn't make sense. Yeah, and you're like, wait a second, and you're listening to it over and over, and you're like, this is an AI voice, and it's like, okay, they don't care. And here's the thing, I don't know.
Want to hire a monotone voice actor who doesn't know how to pronounce the name of your company, hire an AI.
Yeah,
100%.
And they are ripping voice actors off, because I know for a fact there are at least 4 ads running out there that Tim Stevenson's voice is on, and I don't know if there's any way to prove it's him, but by God, you play them back to back with him, it's him. And I heard my second Brad Highland ad
Me too.
on YouTube over
Me
the
too.
weekend. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I agree. I listened to that
I'm pretty
as well.
sure Brad didn't do that ad. It was some bathroom cleaning.
It would have been a
thing or
lot better
something,
if
I
Brad
think.
did it because you can tell.
But it
It's
had
not-
his tonality.
Oh, heck yeah.
It did 100%.
100%, and his some of his inflection, but you could tell it wasn't a live read.
Yeah.
And I hate that. And I know it's happening.
That one with Tim Stevenson, I listened to that one and I was like, Tim has a particular timbre, a particular sound.
So does Brad.
And the way he says certain things is like it's unequivocally 100% Tim. And when he was like, yeah, I didn't do that, I'm like, dude, that is totally a ripoff of you.
Yeah. Listen, AI creators who are not listening to the show.
Yeah, because no one.
Voice actors and producers have better ears than you can imagine. We know what we're hearing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we say that's Brad Highland's voice, we know. All of us, all four of us have coached with Brad.
Yeah.
We know what his voice is. And we know what he sounds like, and we can pick that stuff out.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jake, back to your story.
Well, ultimately, that's how it ended. Is like they were intending on using an AI voice. Now, whether they're going to be okay with it, I don't know. I mean, like maybe they'll listen to him, like, you know what, we can't do this, you know, or this isn't. Excuse me, this isn't working for us. But ultimately, I don't think they care. I think smaller businesses are either one trying to save some money, one don't care, or it's the production houses going like, we want more money for ourselves, which
it is a lot.
Here's the thing: people that don't want to price in the getting the talent. I feel maybe I'm wrong. I've never worked for a production house, but it seems to me it's like they want more money and they don't want to price in getting the talent, and it's like the talent only does so much of it, but it's like at the same time it's like but you're using it elsewhere.
Yes,
I think that's the confusion. I've had so many people reach out to me before. Hey, what's your price for a 30-second? Spot for this, and I'm like, well, it's if it's a broadcast commercial, the length of it's not really important. I mean, GVAA covers 15 seconds to 90 seconds, and most you don't really see a whole lot of ads unless it's like a specialized ad during a specialized event that goes over 90 at most. I mean, like sometimes 2, but I mean most ads 6, 15, 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the price is the same for all of those because it's about the usage. It's no longer about the link. This is not e-learning. This is not corporate narration. This is not narration. It's no longer about the link. It is about the usage and where you're using it, how you're using it. And it's like they don't get that. Or either they don't get that or they're like, that's not how we're going to price this. And it's like, well, then you're wrong. You know what I mean?
Usage is our livelihood.
Right.
Usage is how the industry is set up.
The market. Yeah.
It is 100%. And I think in the message, and I think this makes a lot of sense. I made the comparison of wanting to go into the grocery store, bring your cart. Say you went into the grocery store to buy bread. I got to go and I got to buy bread. While you're there, you throw a bunch of other stuff in the cart. And you go check out and you only pay for the bread. But you want to go home with all the groceries you picked up while you were there. We were only going to use it for bread. We were only going to get bread. That's all I have to pay for. It feels like that's what the producer client has in mind when they say, our intention is to use this for this. And then they get it and they cut it up and they use it for all kinds of other stuff. That you can't go to the grocery store for bread and then buy a whole cart and only pay for the bread. It doesn't work that way.
Here's another thing that can happen related to that. And I don't know if you guys have had this happen. You book something through an agent and you get in the session and it's supposed to be a 30. And then they say, hey, we're going to do a 15 cut down. You're like, oh, okay, well, that's fine. And you remind the agent, hey, they're doing a 15 cut down. We want to make sure we're covering that. But in the session, they go, but it's going to be different. We need you to read that script too.
That's not a cut down. That's
not a
spot.
cut down.
That's another spot.
Yeah.
So the advice that I've heard in the past, and I agree with this 1,000%, don't mention it in the session. Do what you need to do immediately. Email the agent and say, hey, they had me do an additional 15-second spot. Please reach out to them and let your agent handle that. Don't get into a head-butting contest in a session. It ain't worth it.
Right, yeah.
No,
it's just you and your booth versus everybody else.
Right, So just do it. Let it move on. It's not going to take that long,
That's good advice.
And just move on.
Now, what if you don't have an agent?
Well, the agent's you then.
You know what, though?
No, I mean, that's a serious question. Like, if it's not going through an agent, then what do you do?
Here's what I think you can do. And depending on the client, or maybe just depending on who you know, do the spot, and then maybe like, because we've heard about, I've heard this suggested to people, like if you're booking a lot of work or depending on the clientele you're booking, you can take that to an agency. Like if you're not represented, be like, hey, I'm not represented, I'm a voice actor, but I'm working with these people and these people and these people. Like, would you be able to help me, like,
And it doesn't cost them a penny.
It doesn't cost them anything. Yeah, exactly. So that's something you could consider is like if you don't know any agencies, talk to like some voiceover people, see who could suggest like the right agency to take you on. Some agencies are a little sticklers, but we all have relationships with different agencies and stuff like that.
And management companies.
So like we could easily kind of be a liaison in a sense, like, hey, this is voice actor so-and-so, they just did this session with so-and-so, but then they added this. Like, is there any way you can jump in there and help? Or this is where having an agreement comes in.
True.
This is where if this is something that you're concerned about, make sure you have a written up agreement. I have a written up agreement. I don't use it all the time, but I have it there if I feel like I need to. And it's been vetted by an entertainment lawyer. And so what that means is they help me with the dialogue. They even sent me like the correct terminology and correct way to word it, and then I updated it. I paid for it. And when it wasn't a large fee, but it has been vetted by a lawyer, and that's what it protects you. And so if you're concerned about that, adjust your agreement to exactly what the original job says. Don't do anything until they sign it. And look, a lot of times you can be like, look, I would love to do this job, but just to protect myself and to protect you guys, like I want to do, this is how I want to, I need this agreement signed. And then if they don't want to sign it, you probably don't want to work with them anyway, because that's probably some sketchy stuff. And I know it sucks because it's like money, or let's hear an or.
Or you could, in that session, say, I'll be happy to record this additional 15-second spot with you. Could you give me a call after the session so we can negotiate that extra price?
Right.
Yeah.
And that
that's easy
opens the door.
Yeah.
And
that's easy
then
to
they
say,
could
and then
say,
just move on.
we're not paying extra for that. Then you have to make that decision. It's your business. You make that decision.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But what you may want to do, you may want to stand your ground. This could be something that's, that they absolutely should pay for. Now, I have been in something that should have been a $250 job, and maybe I got it for $350 or $500, or whatever it was more, and then they throw in something like that, and it's like, let me do the count. Yeah, that's probably okay, but that's unusual that you're being overpaid, and then they realized it and said, let's get a 15 or get a 6 or whatever in there. It can happen, I think.
Jake, I like the fact that you said you have it in writing, right? You have that contract.
Yeah.
You did your due diligence and you made that so you're covered.
Mm-hmm.
And also, there's a free AI writer that's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a writer that you send. It's basically an attachment that you send with.
You don't mean writer as in
contract.
writer. You mean like something that talks about AI that you can put in that agreement, right?
Yeah.
So it's just an AI
agreement.
writer that you send.
Like you mean RIDER, not WRITE.
Yeah.
So he's not using AI to write something.
Right.
Now,
There's
let's
a
call it
writer
an AI
available
attachment.
An AI
attachment
regarding
an AI runner.
And every single one, and I send that out to every single client that sends me contract terms of agreement, and I say here's an AI writer that I would like for you guys to have a look at and sign also. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I've never been denied. I've never been denied anybody signing that. And
Most are good
I've
about
had a couple of them say, "Thank you so much. That's great that you have this because we need to protect our industry more." So they're like on board also because they're like, we don't want other people stealing our stuff either.
Right.
So it's definitely good that you have those things in place. And
to protect yourself.
And then
it's your business. You got to protect it. Your voice is your intellectual property.
I also recommend to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't done this in your pay-to-plays, put that in your proposal terms. I have just a note in there that just says it is expressly understood that my voice can be used for this project only and not duplicated for AI or any other usage.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not a bad idea to stick that in there.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because if they accept that, you get the job, they book it, you accept it, your terms that were in that proposal count. And that way, you do or do not have to come back and ask them to sign the rider because they accepted that they won't use it for anything else except that project.
We, in our job description that we don't have, right? But understanding what we do as voiceover business owners, we are also in the business of training these clients who use voiceover because they don't necessarily understand how it works.
No.
And so it may be just a misconception they had when they started up their little production company that you can just hire this voice and now you can use them. And they may not understand how usages work in the different places that voiceover is going to be used, whether it's in broadcasting or in CTV, like we're talking about, or all the different things. So we train them in the usage, in duration of usage and renewing usage and AI and all those things.
Sorry, that's just funny you said that because I just ran into that Friday afternoon. And I was telling the guy, he said, how come you don't use the broadcast and commercial rights on the platform? And we're talking about our favorite Fiverr. And I said, because they are blanket and usage is not blanket. It depends on the size of the market.
Yes.
And I said, market A shouldn't pay the same as market C if market A is local and market C is regional.
Correct.
And
so how do you do that on Fiverr? Like, do you just say ask about broadcast rights?
Just not use theirs and put your custom in there. So I have custom, local, regional, national, depending on what they want. And and he said, yeah, I understand that because he said, like people watching the 6 o'clock news in Nashville, there's probably a lot more people than there are in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I said, sure, but he said, a top. He was calling it top 25 markets or top 50 markets. I said, that's not the way it works. And he did agree to it. Everything was okay in the end. And he wasn't arguing. He was really trying to understand it. And I was glad I had the conversation with him because he was making local 30-second TV commercials. And then he'd come to Fiverr and hire the voice actor. And, I said, this is what it costs per. And he's like, man, that seems a lot for me to add on. And da-da-da. I said, no, this is why. And after I explained it, he went ahead and bought and everything was
Sure,
okay.
It's a lot,
and
but at the same time, it's fair.
Right, it's fair. Yeah. And now he knows. He doesn't have to ask me again because, I sent him a GVAA link and everything. And I said, this is what it's supposed to be. What they're doing on there is wrong. And I agree with you that you cannot blanket that stuff.
Yeah, right. And when you do that, when you educate them, their business is going to benefit and it's going to benefit you. So, many of them, and if they're not, they should be, add a little percentage to the total, understanding that as the producer of the job, it should be a percentage of the whole job.
Yeah.
So if they're able to quote higher prices, they should also make more money off of that.
Right. They should be getting
I want my clients to make money. I don't want them to take my money.
Yeah.
But I think we should be making money together. We're partners in this industry.
Right. And that's what you want is partnerships. And by educating them, you're forming a partnership.
That's right.
Now he knows. And I went and looked at his website. He does quite a few spots. It's not like he's in a small market, but he's got a lot of business in that market. And I was shocked he wasn't more educated to that, being a video provider. But we'll see, and maybe he and I'll build a good relationship over that one conversation, but we'll see. Or I could have pissed him off and he'll never come back. I don't know. But that's okay. I'm not doing them for nothing. So
yeah, there's one client of mine that, when somebody comes and asks you for your price, right? Ultimately, we want them to give us their budget, right? Because, hey, this is what you're budgeted for this, for voice acting. And so if I undercut that budget way low, they're making out like a fat rat and I'm getting less than what I deserve, right? Or if I shoot them a number and it's, in my opinion, a good number, but let's say it's higher than the average going rate, but it's in their budget and they're cool with it, that's better for me, right?
Yep.
Well, for this client, they were brand new. How am I going to say this? They were doing in-house work that they normally hired out for a large national multi-tool company. Okay, let's just say that. And I formed a good relationship with him. And so he was like, I don't even know where to start on pricing and quoting for this stuff, right? And because we had a good relationship, I said, we jumped on a call and I said, go to GVAA, right? And I was like, this is about what the going rate is, and it breaks down everything, rights wise, this wise, that wise. And so he's come back 3 times now, and he comes back at GVAA rates every time, because he's like, and he'll list it out. He's like,
He'll
oh,
break
we're
it
going
down
to do
for
this, 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 and this.
That's
and
awesome.
And he'll put the price, and then he'll say, so the total is this. Is that okay with you? And I'm like, of course it's okay with me, because like you're literally going by the book.
Yeah.
And you're not, and you're willing to pay for the work that's done, and willing to pay for the rights for all the different, avenues of usage you have, instead of coming in and being like, so what kind of deal can you give me? You know what I mean? And so, not that I don't work hard at every single client's, work that comes in, but I will go above and beyond to make it absolutely perfect for him, because
you're getting the fair rate. He's upholding his part. You need to uphold your part, which you do, because you're Charles. That's what you do.
Of course.
And that's the thing. I will go above and beyond for him if I need to. And now we have that relationship that's formed, and like I'm his dude, right? So in his mind, I'm his dude. So he'll just type me up, talk to me like I'm a friend. And because he is now, of course, kind of, sort of, like single serving friend. I don't know how I'd call it, but
professional friend, man.
Yeah.
You know what?
Friend.
So, like, if you're listening right now and you're like, man, I've gone to GVA, and I mean, sometimes it's hard to break it all down to figure out exactly how I should quote. I totally hear you, and I'm sorry, I'm going to plug this. But Paul Schmidt has a rates course. I think it's like $99, maybe even less now. I don't know. I've not personally taken it, but I did do Paul's marketing course, and he's very diligent. So he breaks down. I mean, like, he breaks down how you should do it. It's good. Okay, so Troy can vouch for it.
I caught it on special. It's really good. And the trick to something like that is you got to go back to it and refer back to it. And what I did was I made a cheat sheet, because GVAA is this, and I can go through there and do all the stuff. Paul would break it down quick, like if it's a local 30 and it's this, it's this. So make yourself a cheat sheet and have it handy where you can grab that and not have to go in there and recalculate for a local 30 TV, local 30 radio, local 30 streaming, this,
and don't forget to quote each platform,
and just have one
too.
little spreadsheet. One little spreadsheet where you can pop it up real quick, because you usually repeatedly quote the same stuff.
Yeah, and pick your range. Like, I mean, use the range they give you, but pick your number range, or just pick your number.
I got one this morning. A guy had just asked me, and I'd done this in the past, but I was the actual host, and I did the interviews for businesses and construction companies, and we'd be talking about, implements that went on these certain brands of whatever, and I would ask all the questions. Well, they would send me the questions, so it made me come off as a knowledgeable interviewer, and I charged him so much for up to like a 30-minute interview, and then they put them on YouTube. That's all it was. It was his YouTube channel. And he just sent me one, and now what he wants me to do is just coordinate and do the recording and then mix it down for him. So now I've got to sit down and think about that one, because that's not anything I'm going to find anywhere. I just got to say, that's going to take me this long to do this and this long to do that. And then I always have in my mind, when I'm working, I try to set a studio minimum per hour. So if I'm interviewing and then I'm doing the editing and whatever, and then I send it to him, if I can do it in 1 hour, I'll charge him that 1 hour rate. But that's another thing when you're talking about quoting and whatever. How do I quote that? How do I quote that? You decide what your studio time's worth an hour, and apply that to all of that stuff. So if you're going to do $250 for a directed session for an hour, I tie the same thing to my studio value per hour. That may not be enough if I'm doing production sometimes, but I've not got damaged by that or hurt, and I always feel like I'm paid fair if I do that.
Yeah. Thursday and Friday, I did a directed session for. It was my highest paying job yet. Let's just say that. And the directed session was supposed to be scheduled for 2 hours. The first day, it went 4 hours. On Thursday. Still wasn't done. Right. Still didn't get through. It was 14 spots. And we picked up on Friday. I'm sorry, not 4 hours, 3 hours. It went three hours. And then on Friday, it was just a pickup session to finish up the script, and that went for almost 3 hours. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, got a good relationship with them, right? We're going through this stuff. We're laughing on breaks. We're cool with each other. And he was like, "Don't worry, Charles, I'm going to make sure that you're paid for an additional session and for the extra hours that you were in the session over."
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I mean, it's good. And they did extra spots in there because there was like 12 people on the line. There was the creative director or whatever from each company that was under this umbrella company.
Yeah.
And so they all had, and some of the scripts were specifically for them, right? And then some of them were like generally for everybody, for the overall company. And a couple of them were like, let's change this to this and this and this. So we're doing it in the thing, and my audio engineer and the producer from the production company are on the other line, and they are writing everything down. And that's why instead of sending me the price, they sent me an email after and were like, "Hey, we're going to get everything organized and send you the new quote with your time, your extra time, and all this stuff, so you can invoice us correctly, because we want to make sure that you're paid for everything that you did in your time."
That's
like
fantastic.
Those kind of producers.
Have they done that yet?
Awesome.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Because I think that was Friday,
they
wasn't
sent-
it?
Yeah,
Wasn't
that
it
was Friday.
Yeah.
And the person that they need to send everything off to had just gone to France on their vacation. So, and I was like, "Hey man, like,
Could be a slow turnaround.
I don't want to, bug." And then she ended up writing back, and she's like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'll look at this over the weekend and get all the correct information from the team, and then make sure on Monday I'll send you everything so you can send us an invoice." And she's like, "And we pay net 30." I was like, "Thank you for telling me."
Yeah.
It's just
Good to
sometimes
know.
It's like, it's good to know,
Yes, for sure. I feel rated up now.
Yeah, I feel riled up too. There's always, and we're kind of in the middle of this VO world, right? We're not in the decade longs where we're in the, big money necessarily, or big companies, and we have employees that do stuff for us, do our marketing and things. But we still run into new stuff all the time, right? We're always coming across something new.
Sure.
And this has been a great discussion. Thank you, Jake, for sharing your story, because I think that's really going to benefit a lot of people.
Well, because it happens, right? I mean, and it doesn't happen often. I'll say that. It does not happen often, at least in my experience. Maybe the more successful people, the more people you work with, it's going to happen more often. But that's really the first I've had to deal with that, and ended up being something I was okay with. Again, didn't go with me, but at least they're not using my stuff without paying me fairly.
Right.
Yeah,
Hey,
absolutely.
and that's the key, right? Because remember, Jake, after that, I called you and I was like, you didn't, there's that part of you that's like, man, I could have used that extra money, that whatever they were offering 1st, right? Or I could have used that extra money. But then even though you didn't, it's like you have that sense of like, hell yeah, I stood my ground. They know that I'm no joke, right? They know that they can't just do whatever they want. And I feel okay about it.
Yeah.
Right. And you felt good. Like, okay, like, all right, I'm all right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
On to the next thing.
My last name is
On to
not
the next
Upwork.
thing.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, like I said, this has been a great discussion. I think people need to listen to this one for sure. We want them to listen to all of our conversations, but hopefully as we learn, they get to learn from our mistakes and our growing pains and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
but
if any production company, we kind of talked about production companies using AI maybe because of budget or whatever. If you work at a production company or you have a different outlook, let us know. Email us and just tell us like, hey, this is why we do this and this is why we do that. But we'd love to know. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it could turn into a show or a conversation. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we have been another VO podcast where all four of us are sometimes killing it, but always hunting it.
A gang of four.
Goodbye.
Hey, we talk about gangs, man. We ain't gang.
Thanks. We'll see you later.
All right. Later, guys.
Later.
See ya.
dudes.